Nate here at MyMOD coming to you with another brand new YouTube series. And in this series we touch on the unusual, the mysterious and the unknown stories surrounding the gaming industry. This is Unusual Video Game Stories. Episode 1, Jack Branning is Claude Speed from Grand Theft Auto. So far too often do I find myself digging into the deepest, loneliest corners of the internet to gather absolutely pointless information that feeds my insatiable appetite for nostalgia. I guess it was the kid in me that never really grew up. If you live anywhere else besides the UK, this could probably get even more confusing for you. First of all, allow me to go off on a tangent for just a second, just to give you some context about what this video is all about. For anyone who isn't well versed on British pop culture, there's a pokey little show on national TV known as Eastenders. Now typically I'm not one to watch this soap opera, but on an occasion a few years back I just so happened to caught the back end of one particular episode that included one Scott Maslen posing as the notorious Jack Branning. He's a handsome fellow with a chisel frame that goes down well with most of the middle-aged mothers of the UK. Maslen is by no means an international superstar. He is, however, a well-known face in the British TV circuit, and on that day, that very moment when I acknowledged his face, I had a strong overriding feeling of deja vu. It was uncomfortable, because I knew his face, but it never occurred to me how or why I know it. I went about my day with my thoughts unanswered, and as quickly as the thought arrived, it had gone and was forgotten about. So later on that evening, in a typical fashion, I logged into YouTube to do my daily dive. On this particular night, it was vintage game trailers of yesteryear. One that always retained a strong position in my heart were the list of Grand Theft Auto trailers. For some reason they resonated with me about as much as any song or movie scene could have done at the time. And looking back at it now, I was absolutely fascinated with GTA. I played the very first one at a young age. I was introduced to it by my rebellious older cousin back when the ESRB didn't even exist. The particular trailer I began to watch that evening was for GTA 2. At the time, GTA 2 was produced under the name of DMA Design, but published under the new company name called Rockstar Games. This was the first Grand Theft Auto title that Rockstar was officially linked to. It wasn't so much of an intro and more like a short film. There was clearly a decent budget for it. The film introduces you to the protagonist and some of the enemies and allies you'll meet as you play the game. It shows car chases, gun shootouts and dodgy dealings, and they're sort of core gameplay aspects that are found in the series. It's a very entertaining film with an incredible soundtrack, and it really puts you into the world. Much better than 90% of the regurgitated crap you see when games are promoted at this moment in time. As I was dosing myself on nostalgia, that brain itch returned. Watching the scenes of Claude brought back all the memories, but it clicked at that point. The moment his facial definitions were clear enough to identify, through what must have been a 360p image, was a young Scott Maslen, which I watched not a few hours earlier on Eastenders. Was Jack Branning really Claude Speed? So, the impartial investigator that I am, I began to pull the shots of his face and ran closer to the screen just to see if it was actually him, but it soon became apparent that it was. I was looking at the same guy. The younger me, of course, had no idea who Scott Maslen was when I used to play the games as a child. I mean, at the time I assumed, like most children would, that if the game was American, it was probably made in America. Little did I know that the revolution that is Grand Theft Auto originally originated from a brick wall apartment in Aberdeen, Scotland. I found this out years later, but since this personal revelation, it never really occurred to me that they would hire British talent to front and lead this game that was all about America. Of course, in retrospect, these assumptions I made were obviously silly and immature, but nonetheless it produced a weird sense of connection that something that I found interesting as a young kid was in some way relatable to what television shows my mum was watching in the evenings. In the gaming world, Claude Speed is one of those protagonists completely shrouded in mystery. Famous for not speaking a word, and for a long time his name went undercover until the pieces were put together by the YouTube community. He has always captured the imaginations of this GTA community too. His popularity meant that the lore, the fan fiction was, and is still produced for him all over YouTube. He even looks like Scott Maslen too. Claude Speed returns for the next GTA in the series, GTA 3, which became the global hit as we all know it, and turned him into one of the most recognisable game protagonists in the 3D realm. But still, I wonder if Scott even acknowledges or contemplates his role in the most critically acclaimed entertainment franchise that's ever been produced. If there is any indication of Scott's self-awareness, then it surely was captured on this Paul O'Grady interview that I found on YouTube. The clothing choice is far too similar for it to be a coincidence, and it's a really nice Easter egg if it was actually purposely done. I hope you enjoyed this small video that I made about an unusual gaming story. I'm planning to do more in the future, so hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, and also follow us as you'll be able to see all the new videos that we've got coming up. Thank you very much guys, and we'll see you in the next one.